Good evening, everyone. It is Wednesday. We are live at 5, my favorite day of the week, besides Friday. I'm going to wait a few minutes for everyone to jump on. We had quite a bit of people register. We had 28 people register for this, and a couple are still kind of jumping in as well. So, welcome, everyone. I'm excited to do this training because it's all about money. It's all about making profits, and at the end of the game, the end of the day, you need to make profits to continue to run your maid service. So we're going to be talking about that. I'm going to wait a few minutes. I have to look to see who's on here on my phone so I can see I'm training here, but then I have to look on my group. So if you're tuning in, say hi. I know where some of you are from, but just kind of put, hey, where you're from, what the name of your cleaning business is, and we're gonna go from there. So I'm excited to do this training tonight. Now there's a lag on here, so there's always a lag when it comes to me looking at the comments and things like that. So just keep that in mind. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Cheryl Hazer. I'm a cleaning industry coach and consultant. I'm a founder of this group, Sisters Who Scale. I have my own cleaning company I'm still active in. It's called Made Right Cleaning. I'm in the Boston, Massachusetts area. My story, real quick, is I started as a solo cleaner. I grew my company to over 850,000, and it's still growing. Like I said, I'm active in it. We're still growing it. My husband and I built this company from the ground up, from the beginning, like most of you on this call. And people ask me all the time, how did you do it, right? So I'm going to tell you, no tricks, no ChatGPT, because it wasn't around when I first started, right? ChatGPT didn't speed it up. I didn't buy a client list. It was pure 100% organic, no paid ads, pure grit and determination. That's the most important thing that I could tell you is pure grit, determination, and the willingness to never give up. Okay, that's it. No shortcuts. I focused on, all my attention on the result producing activities that bring the best possible result. And that's what I teach. So if you're looking for an easy shortcut, or someone to tell you, how amazing you are, I'm not your girl, unless you do amazing stuff, right? Then I'll tell you all day long. But if you want to know the nuts and bolts of how to facilitate, growing a profitable company, a cleaning company with a magnetic brand that has solid relationships for both clients and staff, and an evergreen tree of high paying clients with happy, pleasant customers, I am exactly what you could be looking for. So tonight's training is going to be awesome. I'm just going to jump in here. Like I said, there's a lag on here. So, 17 views. Hi, Tanya. How are you? Tanya May from, Tanya, Elizabeth, Jessica, Susie. Hi, Susie. If I don't see you or comment, I can comment after just because I'm looking at this live. Hey, Tammy. Okay. Tonight's training is going to be awesome. I'm psyched about it. We have 28 people that signed up, so that's really cool. So it has to do with making money. Obviously, all of our favorite topics, right? Making profits, that is. So I'm going to talk about the dangers of underpricing, okay? And how to stop doing the thing that could bankrupt your company. And then sometimes overnight. Hi, Natalia. So I'm going to be giving examples of what you could be doing possibly right now that's killing your business, what you can do to fix it, right? And make those changes, make those profits to quickly change your cleaning business so you're not racing to the bottom of the price wars with the other companies, which happens a lot. So by all means, take notes. Hi, Belinda. Hi, Pia. Hi, Deborah. Deborah, there is a replay. It's recording, and I usually will post it like the next day. So I'll make sure that I do that for you. Okay. So let's talk about pain point number one. I call it the race to the bottom. So if you're going to compete on price, I want to congratulate you. You've just entered the Hunger Games of cleaning, right? So when you slash your prices to beat the competition, you're basically putting up a giant neon sign that screams, my service is cheap, because it's probably garbage. Think about that, right? If you're drastically lower than all of your competitors, why would somebody want to use you? It actually works in a reverse effect. So here's what you're going to attract. You're going to attract the worst people. You're going to attract penny pinchers, who will drop you faster if you miss a speck of dust on their coffee table, right? They're going to drop you so fast, right? So these delightful clients will expect you to perform miracles on their super dirty house, right? Their disaster zones. They're going to want you to pick up all their clutter, right, while they're paying you peanuts. They'll complain about everything. They will pay late, right? And they will have zero loyalty to you. Why? Because you competed on price with them, right? So, and in the meantime, you're stuck defending why you charge so little, which honestly makes you look desperate if you think about it, right? So, not exactly the confidence boosting business strategy you were going for, right? Right? Anyone that's charging, hi Amanda, under, let's go way low, under $100, under 110, under 120, right? This is you. Pain point number one. Pain point number two, you're working harder, not smarter. So in this category, you're basically saying to yourself, I pay myself $3 an hour, but I'm my own boss, right? So you're working 70 hours a week, your back is screaming, you're making less money, right? But keep telling yourself that taking on 5 more clients will fix everything. It's not going to, all right? So here is the fun part. Well, you're scrubbing toilets, your family is wondering if you still live there because you're working 10-hour days, right? Your health could be possibly suffering, right? Your back, your shoulders, tendonitis that's in, your arms, like all that stuff. And you've basically created the world's most expensive hobby, but instead of enjoying it, you're actually killing yourself for it, right? When you work cheap and don't know how to price and things like that. Pain point number 3, you create a cash flow chaos. So nothing says successful business owner like praying your bank account doesn't bounce when the rent is due. Now I'm being totally sarcastic. I like to be sarcastic. That's who I am. So when you underprice, your monthly income doesn't become predictable, right? 1 month you're rolling in it, and the next month you're eating ramen noodles. So you're stuck in survival mode all the time. Is this resonating with anyone? Does this make sense? I'm going to see if I can read these. They're kind of coming in. Let's see. Working harder, not smarter, for sure. Hi, April. So that's pain point number 3. You have a cash flow problem. When you don't have a lot of money coming in, you have a massive cash flow problem. I'm seeing hearts. I don't know what that heart's for. Cash flow, right? Maybe cash flow. So pain point number 4, moving on, is that you have the illusion that you're making profits, right? So the classic, I'm making money, right? Well, your business is slowly bleeding out and you don't understand the difference between costs and profits and things like that. So you see money coming in and you're like, cool, right? You're seeing gross money, you're seeing, cool, we're making money, but you haven't accounted for expenses. You haven't accounted for payroll, right? And if you don't have your staff under control and your labor under control, at the end of the week, after you pay out payroll, there's no money left for you. Or maybe some of you have felt what it feels like to not be able to make payroll. That's a profit problem, right? You're not making enough profit when that happens. If you run out of money, you're not making enough profit. You run out of money to pay your people, you haven't brought in enough profit. Or your labor is too high. Or they're working so freaking slow that they're bleeding you dry, right? These are some of the things I help people with. I help you create a routine that's efficient, that's fast. I help you raise your prices, things like that. So all of these things, like, and you're working your butt off for this stuff. How do I know? Because I did it, right? I did it. You're not building wealth. You're just created the world's most elaborate, let's work for free, I'm the CEO, self-employed, badass person, which you're actually broke, right? Anyone feel this? Say, I feel this. Say, I feel this. Because I'm seeing these I'm not seeing these I don't think I'm seeing these comments in real time. So, let's fix this. What's the cost of getting this wrong? What happens when you don't price correctly, right? So there's immediate consequences that I all want you to understand. That you're going to work for less than a minimum wage, right? In your state, wherever you are, everyone's in a different state. You're always going to be stressed, right? you're unable to provide quality service due to time constraints. You're always going to be rushing if you're not, charging enough, right? We all know what that is. Oh, I'm only making 120. Can get out of here. in like an hour and a half, and that's going to lead to loss of clients, right? Things like that. If you're not paying your employees enough, you're going to suffer from high employee turnover from low wages. That happens too, right? If you can't pay them enough, they're not going to stay. You don't want to pay them too much. But Ruth Ann is saying, going through this right now, changing to a percentage of the job instead of hourly for my employees. Yep, you can definitely, that's a model that works, as long as your W-2 people don't get, pissed off and quit, right? So the challenge is switching it without everyone, getting pissed off. And so when you get this wrong, you can cause long-term business damage to your business, right? Cheap services, when you beat out everyone's price, is extremely difficult to get out of. Why? Because you unintentionally brand yourself as the cheap option in the market. Think about that, right? Oh, go to so and so, she's cheaper. Oh, sister's cleaning, or whoever. Oh, my competitors. Oh, they're cheaper. Blah 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 blah. So like, if you see that online and in the Facebook groups, like, these poor people, whether they be companies or solo cleaners, are getting their reputation for being cheap, right? And people are gonna, the people that are cheap want everything for free. So you don't want the cheap people, right? You don't want the cheap people. Now, with lower wages, you have the inability to invest in business growth. That's a big problem. You're missing out on the good clients, on the premium clients who value the quality over the cheap option, because they're out there, right? That's your goal, to find those people. And your business eventually becomes unsustainable and eventually fails. And that sucks, right? I see businesses close all the time because they're not charging enough. And they don't know what their profits are. And they don't have enough profit margin, right? And their labor is out of control. So they're paying a crazy payroll each month that they shouldn't be paying. They're not taking a paycheck. I see this stuff. This is real life shit, and this is what I help people with. So, not to mention, it's going to personally affect you, right? You're going to miss family time. Financial stress is always a stress on any relationship, right? Difficulty to save, and you feel trapped, right? How many people have felt trapped in their business at one point or another? Type the word trapped. Type the word trapped. Belinda says, I don't know if I can read this. Some cleaners want more than we charge our clients. Cheaper is never better. Yes, some cleaners are crazy, as we know, Belinda. The situation you had this week, which will be a topic for a different day, but I would really love to talk about that. Diana, would you mind tagging me in this video? Yep, sure. So, okay. I want you all to understand what your true value proposition is, right? How do you overcome these problems? So I found that there are three major things. Number one is understanding your true value proposition. Write that phrase down. Value proposition. Some people don't know what that means. I'm going to explain to you what that means in business. So the real problem here is you're selling cleaning instead of selling magic. You need to be selling magic, right? And stress relief and things like that in people's lives. So you're selling the wrong thing. You're selling cleaning services where you should be selling happiness, right? Of course we're cleaning, but you need to be selling happiness. So the solution is to sell what they actually want and need. Okay, of course they need cleaning, but there's a side thing that comes from cleaning, right? So the reality is your clients, none of our clients give a damn about your mop technique or what products you use, like, unless they're looking for a green option or they have, like, severe allergies, then they would be concerned. Here's what they want, if you want to write these down. There's 5 things that I've found. There's peace of mind. And I want to walk in their house and be like, it's amazing. Peace of mind is number 1. Health and safety for their family. Some people are concerned about the health of a clean house. Okay, valid. Health for the safety of, health for the babies crawling around. That's a perfect example on the floor. They want that stuff off the floor, right? Number 3 is time freedom to actually enjoy their lives, because usually 2 parents are working, they're busy, there's sports, there's all kinds of chaos going on in the house. Aging parents, living in the house. They're taking care of people. I was just in an estimate yesterday where a couple that I know, the husband I went to school with, he just had a quadruple bypass, and she's working full time, taking care of the kids and taking care of him. That's why I was there. She can't do it all, right? So they don't want to do. She doesn't want to do her cleaning on a Saturday for 5 hours, right? She wants to have time freedom to joy with her husband, who's 55 years old, who just had a quadruple bypass. I would say spending time with him is more important than cleaning the freaking house. So they got us there, and I did the estimate, and we start, in a couple weeks. So 4 is a professional image that doesn't scream, I'm a hot mess, hire me, right? You don't want to look like a hot mess, right? And then 5 is less stress and more sanity. When you clean a woman's house for her, you give her back time, you give her back sanity, and you reduce her stress. That is what you're selling, right? That is what you're selling. We're selling getting your time back. That's what Ruth Ann says. Yeah. Tammy's trapped. Tammy, we're gonna get you out of being trapped, honey, in September when you start working with me. Noelle is trapped. Few people. Jessica says few people here in Northport posting 150. Yeah, they don't know what they're doing. But that's just awful. More on that later. Ruth Ann, why are you trapped, honey? You shouldn't be trapped anymore. Let's talk. So, how do you flip this? How do you flip the narrative on this? Stop being a cleaning lady or a guy and start being a life improver, right? You're not providing a service, you're providing solutions. You're not an expense on their budget, you're an investment in their happiness. This is how you have to rephrase yourself and think about this. So the big aha moment comes when you understand that price stops being about counting minutes and starts being about delivering value. Does that make sense? So your clients aren't buying cleaning, they're buying back their weekends, they're buying back their sanity and their peace of mind. And to me, that's worth way more than $20 an hour, right? That's worth like $60 an hour, right? If you're giving them back, the time. So that's the value proposition, right, of a cleaning company, of most cleaning companies, all right? Number 2 is what you need to do, right, to figure out this generating in between 25 and 30% profit, is you need to master your cost structure. This is really important. This can get very out of hand if it isn't done correctly, right? Ruth Ann, we need to talk. I know, Ruth Ann, because you were kicking ass when we were working together. What the hell happened? Let's talk. You know I'm only teasing you. All right, so number 2, master your cost structure. So the problem is, right, is your profits could be actual losses. So what do I mean by this? When we're talking about true labor costs, which is, taxes, payroll taxes, we all got to pay them in every single state. Benefits, if your state offers benefits or makes you do benefits, every state's kind of different. And training people, it's expensive, right? Then you have equipment that breaks down, like vacuums, vacuum heads. We have that happens. They needs replacing. There's only a certain shelf life on them. You want to have good profit margins coming in, so you can invest in good equipment that doesn't break as much, right? I know I've heard a lot of things. The Shark vacuums break, things like that. We use Pro Team. They're commercial backpack vacuums. They're expensive, but they last, right? They last. They break. The cords kind of bend and break, here and there, whatever. Because we're doing, so many houses a week, but they last and they're good, right? So you gotta invest in better equipment. Sorry, right? So vehicle expenses, right? That adds up. If you're paying gas, if you're doing a flat rate, if you're doing mileage, I happen to do a flat rate. Every day when they drive their own car. My staff loves driving their own cars, so I didn't fight it, and they drive it, right? Admin time, that never gets counted. Licensing, insurance, workers' comp, stuff like that. All that stuff costs money, so you need to be able to bring in enough profits to pay all that stuff, right? Because what's going to happen if you don't? You're not going to be able to pay the workers' comp bill. You're going to be low on payroll. You're going to be like, oh my God, my payroll is, $3,000, $4,000 a week, and I can take a paycheck. You need to take some money, right? You need to take some money. So what's the solution? What's the solution to this, right? The solution is knowing your numbers. And I don't know what it is about women, but women are afraid of numbers. Women are afraid of money. Who here, and I want you to put your hand up, who here is afraid of looking at the numbers? Men don't have any problem looking at the numbers, right? Men are masculine. Women, my female cleaning business owners, which I think is most of you on this call, are you afraid of looking at your numbers? You can rip the band-aid off and look at the numbers, right? Just say, afraid of numbers. I want to know who's afraid of numbers. This is going to be interesting. Let's see. Who's afraid of numbers? Who's afraid of numbers? There's a lot of comments on here. Ruth Ann's afraid of numbers. Yeah, I know. And I don't like the numbers either. Right? I don't like the numbers either. But we have to learn them, right? We have to learn them. So you need to learn direct versus indirect costs. Fixed versus variable costs. Sometimes your fixed costs are going to be insurance. You're going to be variable is going to be payroll, because your payroll is going to go up and down, even though it's big. It's 50% of your cost, or it should be at least. It's probably, if you're doing your profits good, it should be 40% of your cost. So what is underpricing actually costing you, right? What is it costing you? Does everyone know your real hourly operational costs, right? I bet some of you do, some of you don't. Raising hands. That means everyone's scared shitless of the numbers. That's what that means, ladies. And so, I want you to write this down. What do you need to learn? What do you need to track? Okay, what do you need to track every single week? This is going to help you. You need to track your labor, including paying yourself. That's number one. You need to track your materials and supplies. You could probably do that on a monthly basis. You don't have to track that every week because you're not buying stuff every week. You need to track transportation and logistics. So paying gas money, paying mileage, right? Whichever one your company is doing. You need to track your business overhead and admin stuff. That could be tracked probably on a monthly basis, right? What you're spending each month in costs. And then you need to track your profit margins. You need to know if you're making money. You can't just wing this. You can't just guess this. Susie Schaefer says, I have no clue about hourly operational costs, right? Elizabeth says me. Tammy says me. Yeah, everyone's afraid of it, right? That's why you're on this call. So, okay. So the wake-up call is this. Most cleaning business owners don't know how to calculate their profits. They don't know how to figure it out, right? So once you see the real numbers, you'll understand why your bank is lower than it should be. And the truth is, you're probably losing money on half of your clients and you don't even know it, right? The math doesn't lie. And this is the thing. You can be great at customer service. You can be great at cleaning. You can be great at training your staff, right? But if you don't know your numbers, you don't know your numbers. And at any given time, your business could close. And you don't even know why, because you don't know your numbers. And I don't know why women just struggle with this, but we do, myself included. Before I ripped the band-aid off and tortured myself and looked at my numbers, and then I was like, crap, I gotta fix this. This was years ago, because I'm not making any profit. So I know what I'm saying. I feel you, I hear you, I've been with all of you, and that's why, I aim to fix this. So tell me why you're afraid to look at your numbers. Interesting. Put in the comments why you're afraid to look at your numbers. It would be really interesting to see what everyone says on this, because it's a problem. It's a problem with cleaning business owners. It's a problem with women that own cleaning businesses. We're afraid to look at our numbers. So I want to know from all of you, or as many that want to put this, why are you afraid? Right? Why are you afraid? Well, we move on. So we're going to move on to number 3. Developing confidence in your pricing conversations. Okay, now we're talking about your going to an estimate, giving them a price. Now we're talking about that. Okay, so we're talking about going to do an estimate, giving the price. Some people are afraid to talk price, right? what's the problem? The problem is you you get fearful, right, of pricing discussions. You get fearful of pricing discussions. How many of you get nervous when you give the price? Just put price nervousness. Price nervousness, right? So if you find yourself apologizing for prices, immediately offering a discount, like, oh, you know what, I can do a little bit better than that. You give the price of like $190 for a bi-weekly cleaning. You say, you know what, I can do it for $170. If you backtrack right there, you get a problem. You get a problem with fear in giving the price. This is your fear of money subconsciously, even though you don't really realize that that's happening, right? So when you focus on price instead of focus on value, it makes you nervous. Makes you nervous because then you start thinking, Natalia says she's price nervous. Then you start thinking, what is the other one going to give me? Blah, 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 blah. Let them go with the cheaper client. Let them get burned. Let the cheaper client not show up. Let them go with them. They're going to get burned. They're going to come back eventually, right? 6 months, 8 months down the road or whatever. I've had clients that have left us because they couldn't get, the exact time of day every time their cleaning was there, and they left us. I'm thinking of one in particular. She used 2 other services. She was back within 6 months, 8 months. She's like, they didn't mop, they sucked, they weren't reliable. Go ahead and get a cheaper one. Have at it. Let them do it. It's going to build your confidence, right? It's going to build your confidence. So the solution is creating a value confident communication with your clients. So it's really crucial to develop these essential communication skills. I work with people, in Drop Them Up program, whether I work with you in the group or privately, I work with you with this. So you want to present the price as an investment in an outcome, right? Remember how we talked about outcomes before? So you want them to be like, this is an investment in your happiness. Jessica says it gives her anxiety. Yep, 100%. This will, when you have confident communication with the price, you can handle your price objections much better, and you handle them with confidence. And if you get rejected, so what? No one likes to be rejected, but get used to it. You're in sales. When you're going to do estimates, that's sales 101, right? You need to learn how to demonstrate your return on investment for your services and position the price of the cleaning within the contents of the client benefits. So the more you create value, in your sales packages, if you have them, you should have them. If you don't, let me know. I can help you with that. You create a sales package, go to the house. While you're going over the sales package, it's building value with the person sitting in front of you, right? So when you're building value, your price can be higher, and they can be like, you know what? They offer all this stuff, and they're reliable, and they got insurance and vetted employees and all this stuff, and then they'll pay more. I went to an estimate last Friday, and they've never had a cleaning service. They had a few, interviews, whatever, and people love to tell you they're interviewing other clients, and so this is on a Friday, and I did my whole spiel. I spent a little extra time with them. They were lovely people, a couple. And they said, we have one more estimate to get through on Monday, and then we'll make a decision. Do you know that they approved that quote Friday night? They didn't even get to the next person on Monday. That person on Monday lost out because I had everything together, and I sold them on it. We provide a great service. Our team is fantastic. Our reviews. So everything was hitting at all sides. And they said, my wife and I decided that we're going to go with your company. Perfect. Now we have new clients bi-weekly. They were nice people, super psyched. So that's what happens when you create, and deliver a value-packed sales package. That's what you get, right? And they were like, your price is reasonable, blah, blah, blah. And so, we're going to make money on it. It was just the first floor. It wasn't even in bedrooms or anything like that. It was a half bath. It wasn't even big at all. So, that happens over time, right? So that happens when your confidence builds. So when you truly understand the value of what you bring to the table, right? And have your confidence in your pricing, you feel good about it, the client senses this confidence and they're more likely to accept your prices without negotiation. But you have to get confident in this, right? So now you understand these critical areas that separate profitable cleaning businesses from struggling ones, right? But knowing what to change and actually implementing the changes are two very different things. So in my own business, I used to undercharge years ago. I've been there. I never factored in my cost, only the gross revenue. I was a gross revenue person. I'm like, yay, I'm bringing in 2,000 a week or whatever. I never factored in payroll expenses. I only like to see the gross number, but the gross numbers don't paint a true picture of everything. And it wasn't until I was forced to get out of the field when my back, blew, like you guys all know my story, and stop cleaning, I had to look at these numbers and make some big changes. So how do you build your company organically? How do you build your company organically? Stop blowing money on ads that don't work. Stop hiring market agencies that are asking you for $1,500 to $2,000 a month, and then they start creating your brand and your identity for you. Stop doing that, right? Today, and I tell you this because it can help you, my company does not spend any money on ads, right? No money on ads. I am proud to say we're 100% organic, right? You might be thinking, how the heck do you do that? So, we didn't even have a website until 3 years in. We didn't have a website, until we ran the company. Or like I'm the OG, right? But like 3 years in, we operated on Facebook, referrals, word of mouth, networking. Like that's what we did. We operated solely on Facebook, like social media, everything. We didn't have a need for a website. We didn't even have a Google page for years when I first started, right? No Instagram ads, no Facebook ads, no TikTok ads. We don't even do TikTok to this day. But we did grassroots marketing, networking, old home days. We built our reputation in the community as being the number one trusted service in my area. Let me ask you this, because I want to know, how many of you have paid for ads that didn't convert? I bet a few of you, right? You can spend a ton of money on ads. I know companies that are spending up to $5,000 to $10,000 a month on ads. But the truth is, if you're spending $60K a year on ads, that's cutting into your bottom line. I don't care what anyone says. It cuts into your profits, right? It cuts into paying yourself, right? Stop doing that. I can teach you how to do it and become a lead machine organically. It's one of the things I specialize in. It's organic client attraction. I am doing a training. I am part of the ZenMade Summit. I'm doing a training during the summit, September 12th. I'll get the time for you. And that is on creating a company culture and retaining talent, okay, to build your empire. That is my summit training. The week before, on the ZenMade page, I am doing another training, how to get 90 leads in 90 days organically without paying for Facebook ads or any ads. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to teach that. That's sort of the same thing I'm talking about tonight. So did you know that when a lead comes off an ad, you'll be 70% more likely to have a price haggle with them if it came to you organically? The organic leads convert better, right? They do. You will struggle with paid leads, and they'll sometimes they're just looking for the cheap option. Why? Because there's no testimonial behind it. There's not someone on social media or a review on Google saying, hey, this company is great, right? Those things work, and they work really good. They work really good. Reels work really good if you do the right hashtags, right? They get into the community, they get in people's feeds, people look at it, they see the name of the company, they see it over and over again, then they see a review, then they see someone recommend it in a Facebook group, and all that stuff works. That works better than throwing out thousands of dollars and paying for leads that aren't even in your target market, right? There's all kinds of leads. There's move-out cleans, move-in cleans, apartment turnovers, property managers, one time. Then you got the scam artists, and you got the people looking for a one-time deep clean. Then you have like a whole bunch of things come at you when you pay for ads, right? So let's stop doing this, right? Let's stop doing this and figure out how to do it organically. So here's a question. Are you going to continue with pricing that keeps you struggling? You better not, right? We got to figure that out. Or will you take action to transform your business profitability, right? The next choice you make in the next month or so could determine the next 5 years. Is this making sense? So most business owners get stuck in the implementation phase, right? They know what needs to change, right? All of you here be like, you know what, I need to change this, but they don't have the step-by-step system to make it happen safely. What do I mean by safely? So you're not blowing a bunch of money, and effectively, right? Right? So I can help you. I can help you all with this. This is my jam. This is what I do. This is what I'm good at, and I teach the people that I work with to create leads organically, because the organic ones are going to be the easiest ones to convert, and you're leading in an authentic way. You're not just grabbing a whole bunch of leads that are coming from ads, right? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Let's see who says this. April says, I had one client do that and beg through email if I would consider taking them back. Yeah, exactly, because they got burned. I love that. I love that. Belinda Moon says, same, 8 years and just got a website. 100%. She built, Belinda and I work together. She's in, drop them off, she's a private client, and she's got one hell of a business in Washington. One hell of a business, lady. So if this resonates with you, and you haven't worked with me yet, or you have worked with me and you'd like to, have a little more consistency in your life, because that's what I provide when I work with you, then contact me, DM me. I'm very friendly. I'm available. That's one thing that's good about me, is that I DM people back. So if this resonates, if you're having, a hard time generating new clients, figuring out your profits, then we should have a chat. What I do is I set up an easy Zoom call that we schedule together. I ask you a bunch of questions about your business, see what you're struggling with, and see if what I do can help you, right? Maybe you can, and then 6 months later your business is going to look totally different, right, than it does right now. I work with, most of the people that I work with end up doubling and tripling their revenue within 6 months, 6 to 8 months, by doing the result producing activities, by being consistent. Ladies, this is all about being consistent. This is not about doing something for a couple of months and then letting it go, right? I've seen people that I've worked with, and then they just fall off, right? They fall off the consistency train, and all of a sudden they come back and they're like, I don't know what happened. I'm like, what happened? You just stopped doing the result producing activities. That's what happened, right? Come on, right? This is a slow build. This isn't a fast build, right? If you do the steps that are necessary, if you do the hard work, the only way it's not going to work is if you didn't do the work. That's it, right? That's my whole spiel. That's how I work, right? You don't get any BS with me. So if you're needing help, contact me, right? Contact me. All right, ladies, I'm going to look through these questions and I'm going to see, because there's so many comments here and I'm not able to see them all. Belinda says the organic clients share with neighbors and friends. Yes, referrals are key. 100%. 100%. Jessica, I did that yesterday. Told the lady it would be $200 to clean, and then I went down to $175. See? Stop doing that, Jessica. Whatever comes out of your mouth when you're in the appointment, if $200 comes out of your mouth, you're sticking with it. Do not reduce it. That is your own fear of price, of money. There's something going on internally, right? There's something going on internally with most women with money, so just so you know. It's okay. But whatever price comes out of your mouth of that estimate, you stick with it, right? She paid you more. And she paid you more. That's hilarious. She paid you what you originally said, which you're worth it, right? Which you're totally worth it. Yeah, April says trying that on Nextdoor on Facebook groups, hoping to get bookings from there soon. It works. If you do it, it works, right? Totally. All right, ladies, have an amazing, amazing evening. And I will see you all soon. All right, bye.